Okay, things seem like they're working. All right, so hello. How you doing? What you doing? Why you doing and when? And what brought you here to my purgatory? Let me know in the comments down below. That being said, from the Discord, also known as Purgatory, we got some requests. Unfortunately, they're in the wrong channel. This channel's supposed to be for notifications for people and for me to put stuff in it so people know it happened. And for general chat, of course. So please make sure if you do join the Discord, put stuff in YouTube requests right here and not in the general chat. That being said, we have requests from Instigator Artworks. Or is it just Instigator Art now? Oh, that's one of the two. And to answer your question, basically, yes. So, yeah. That said, they have a request from Fearless Records. Punk Goes 90s Volume 2, Falling in Reverse, Gangsta's Paradise. Been living all our lives in a gangster's paradise. Man, them were some times. Anyway, you ready? Maybe I am, maybe I ain't. Guess we're gonna find out, ain't we? Let's jump in, shall we? What you got for me? Oh, wait a minute. You know what? I'm wearing the wrong hat for this. You know, this ain't a proper gangster type hat. I gotta fix my cloak of invisibility. Ugh. And no, I'm not as big as I look on the screen, but I'm big enough. That said, I think the hat's straight. Let me fix myself, actually. Gotta make sure it looks nice and neatish. Okay, that's nice and neatish enough. Alright, cool. Alright, Dan, you ready for this? Oh, wait, this is messed up too. Let me fix everything, actually. Mierda, a la madre de Dios. That might be goodish enough-ish. Kind of-ish. Is it centered? It bothers me I can't manually center it. Anyway, alright, so, we ready? Got my gangster hat on. Alright. Operation Freedom Fighter. It's basically dead, but I think I got the link to the merch somewhere still, in case anybody, you know, wants an Operation Freedom thing. And in case anyone asks, it was from channel number 9 that got nuked by YouTube. Because what I was trying to do was something called Operation Freedom Fighter. And what I was going to try to do was create a for-profit alongside a non-profit that would directly supplement any and all existing gaps in VA care for veterans. So, you know, getting donations, you know, for direct checks to veterans so they can get back up on their feet and off the street, like I had to do a few times by myself. And on top of that, you know, veterans struggling with mental health, well, helping them to get hooked up with TRICARE and all of that, seeing if it could be paid in advance for years, or at least give them, you know, a drip feed of that direct to the veteran, right? Do a lot more stuff direct to veteran instead of going through all these organizations and stuff through the VA that are sponsored by VA to make them look good so they can make them a buck or two doing the bare minimum that doesn't help nobody. So that being said, that's what Operation, Freedom Fighter was supposed to be. Operation Freedom was supposed to be a clothing line that would help with that, but it went nowhere. So there you go. There's the explanation and context and everything out of there. If you give a shit to know, let me know in the comments, and I'll shoot a link into the comment section in case anybody's curious. Anyways, that being said, I got my gangster hat on. Let's do it. Actually, wait. Yeah, no, nah. It works out. Yeah.
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. Cause I've been laughing and blasting so long that even my mama thinks that my mind is gone. But I ain't never crossed a man that didn't deserve it. Me be treated like a punk, yeah, you know that's unheard. You better watch how you're talking and where you're walking, or you and your homies might be lying to chalk. I really hate the trip, but I gotta know. Wow, this ain't cool, I see myself in the pistol smoke. I'm the kind of G the little homies wanna be like. Knees in the night, saying prayers in the street light. Men spending most their lives living in a gangsta's paradise. Men spending most their lives living in a gangsta's paradise. Keep spending most our lives living in a gangsta's paradise. Keep spending most our lives living in a gangsta's paradise. Look at the situation they got me facing. I can't live a normal life. I was raised by the streets, so I gotta be down with the hood team. Too many television watching got me chasing dreams. I'm an educated fool with money on my mind. I got a 10 in my hand and a gleam in my eye. I'm a loped out gangster shit tripping banger, and my homies are down, don't arouse my anger. Death ain't nothing but a heartbeat away. I'm living life, do or die. What can I say? I'm 23 now, but will I live to see 24? The way things are going, I don't know. So tell me why I'm way so fucking blind to say the blood we die. Are you and me?
Freaking A, this is a hell of a crossover. This is a hell of a mashup, honestly. It's actually good. I was expecting it to be like, one for one, just swapping out some things. But no, they just straight up went to town with it. Good times, good times. Because this song by Coolio is freaking iconic. Why? Because it spoke the truth. Been spending most our lives living in a gangster's paradise. But a gangster's paradise ain't good for everybody that ain't a gangster. The whole criminal element and all that, people forget it. It got romanticized, for a long time. Nowadays, people are starting to actually wake up to the fact that a gangster's paradise is actually bad for everybody around it because they're just criminals. How do I know all of these things? Well, I was an inner city ghetto kid. That's how I know. Don't let everything else about me seem to fool you. I got into the army at a young age, and you know what? There was a lot more rednecks than anybody else in the army at the time. Rednecks and working Hispanics, and a few black people sprinkled in here and there. Most of them were what would be called whitewashed back in the day. You know, and then you'd have some gangsters mixed in between, but they assimilated better than anything else. And this is back in the day. Nowadays, it's a bigger mix mash of because the population is so large now. The military is a microcosm of our culture and society. So if you see it in the military, it's reflected everywhere else too. So yeah, that said, it spoke the truth, and a lot of music from them days did. That's why people like Big and Tupac were so beloved, because they spoke the story of the street. They told the story of being a gangster, of having to be part of the criminal element and the underground, and the true nature and costs of it. They even reacted to it as well in their music and reflected it directly. And it led to, well, what always happens between rebel factions in the underground: more criminality. That said, right? This is a good remix mashup. I like this. That's it. Let's jump in.
What's going on in the kitchen? But I don't know what's cooking. I gotta learn, but nobody's here to teach me. I can understand, how can they reach me? I guess they can't, I guess they will. I guess they front, that's why my life is out of luck. Fuck everyone.
Ain't that a fact? Ain't that a fact? But that's the average mentality, right? At the lower end of society. How do I know? Because that's the general attitude you have. Because you don't have, and this is endemic. Okay, this is endemic. I don't think it's something that can be fixed as easily as throwing money at it. Obviously, with all the fraud, waste, and abuse we've seen from, NGOs and charities and all of them just lying to make these centers and funnel the money to themselves. But this is endemic. You're stuck with a low IQ if all that there is, all there will be, and all that can be is only ever going to be volatility. Now, I'm not making excuses for the choice and decision to be stuck in it, right? Gentrification was a good thing. Forcing, gentrification to be reversed was always going to be a horrible outcome. And now we see the results. Hell, look at the difference between all these cities from back in the 70s and 80s to now. Very stark, sharp difference, ain't it? Um, but yeah, so if you are stuck with one of and subject to nothing but third world mentality, animalism, and criminality, then choosing and making the decision to try and achieve things that are more high IQ becomes the threshold for entry to that is incredibly high. Because the more you're dedicating to try and getting out, the less you're dedicating to your surroundings, your environment, and what's going on around you. Which is why everybody who's on the lower end of society is always in crazy mode. Some people call it ape mode, some call it chimp mode, some call it, return to monkey, right? Some, others say, Neanderthal way or whatever, return to caveman, ooga booga, and all that. But it's true. It is an element that's very strong and a big part of the reason why these types of things continue. But the bigger part of it is because it is allowed to continue. If you took all the police on law enforcement and everything else on the planet and shoved them into these neighborhoods and did a strict enforcement of law, period, removed all the criminal elements and made everything safe again, cleaned up the streets, and you encouraged those who live at the lower end of society to do more with themselves, you'd see some really stark changes overnight. And I mean that overnight, as in relative terms to how long this process takes. I mean, look at the difference between certain cities, from certain cities now under the current administration, versus how they were before. Hell, El Salvador is a perfect example of this. El Salvador basically just said, fuck them all. Okay, and they rounded everybody up, corrupt judges, lawyers, police, everybody. rounded them all up, shoved them into prison. Every one of them. And now their murders per capita is down to like two or something. It's like two murders per capita per like month or something like that now. It's ridiculous low because they removed every single criminal element they could seek out, find, and smoke out and force out, and rip out of their little hidey holes. If you do not do the same everywhere, you get nowhere, and you just get more of the same. More criminality, more volatility, more violence, more animalistic tendencies, more herd behavior, more low IQ, absolute ape shit. So, yeah, that said, let's continue with the awesome music.
What up? Shout out to Epitaph. Shout out to Fearless Records. Punk goes 90s. Shout out to all the bands on the record. Falling in reverse, 2014 and beyond. Gangsta's Paradise, baby. Let's spend and most their lives living in a gangsta's paradise. Let's spend and most their lives living in a gangsta's paradise. Can't spend and most our lives living in a gangsta's paradise. Can't spend and most our lives living in a gangsta's paradise.
This was fun. This was great. I like this. That said, what do y'all think? What do y'all think? You let me know in the comments down below. All right. That said, you know what time it is. Also, let me know what you think in the comments. I know YouTube deletes a lot of them, which is why I encourage the Discord more than anything else. But still, try to leave comments, even if YouTube deletes them. I'll try to see them if I can. But what do you think? Am I right? Am I wrong? Again, let me know. That said, like, share, comment, and subscribe. And be good. Be safe. Make good life for yourselves. Don't compromise safety and security for nobody and nothing. Death and disaster is only a second away. Do what you can today. And I will see y'all in the next one. I'm Badger 7 Actual, the formerly homeless veteran, Blast Cat Badger, out.